Development is being called to order. Secretary, please call the roll.
Senators Brown, 26.
Here.
Gregory, 21. Gregory, 15. Lewis. Schnelting. Trent. Washington.
Since we have established a quorum, we will move on to hearings. We will be hearing first Senate Bill 12. Senator Hough, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Senator Lincoln Hough representing the 30th Senatorial District. Appreciate the time of the committee this morning. I'll try to be pretty brief. Senate Bill 12 is pretty simple. It's got two components to it. Both of them are tax deductions that are capped out at $500 per classification. The first is for eligible educators that spend their own money. Oftentimes we hear these stories from teachers in communities that use their own resources to help their classrooms, and this would offer a $500 tax deduction annually. The other component of this is a same tax deduction for first responders, also capped at $500 of their salary or compensation associated with their employment. I noticed Mr. Clarich is here. I hope he's not here to help out with this bill because the last time he did that, he killed my bill. So, happy to answer any questions from the committee. That's a true story.
Thank you, Senator. Do we have any questions? Senator Washington.
Yes, Senator, I'm going to guess what your question is. Assuming that after the end of this session we are still collecting any taxes for any sort of reason, this would then offer a $500 tax deduction. Assuming we haven't cut all the taxes.
Thank you for being here.
You bet.
That wasn't my question. I do have two questions. One, your bill limits this for K through 12.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a reason that we cannot also incorporate?
Not until we have educational freedom at higher ed. We've got a bill on that too.
He's the only person that you all will notice I will not grill ever. And I think those of you in the
If
room
you, Senator,
know.
if,
But that also wasn't my question.
if you wanted if you wanted to expand this to educators in higher ed, community colleges, four-year institutions.
I didn't. I wanted to expand it to pre-K
Sure.
and daycare.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
Okay.
I think that's a good idea.
And why only $500?
That's just a starting point. I'm happy to have a conversation about it if you think that's so. Most of the comments that I've heard from educators has been they don't spend more than $300 or $400 oftentimes in their own classrooms. So we just took a shot at $500. If you hear from folks in your communities that may incur more expenses than that, I'd be happy to bump that number up.
Okay.
Obviously, that would change the fiscal note, but yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any further questions? All right. First witness who would like to testify in favor, please come forward.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Mike Harris, the Missouri State Teachers Association. As you know, Missouri teachers consistently go above and beyond, not just in their time and dedication, but also in their financial contributions to the classroom. Basic supplies like notebooks, pens, pencils, to things like books, science kits, those kind of things that they spend their money on to enrich the lives of and learning experience of their kids. On average, teachers spend hundreds, if not more, of their own dollars annually to fill the gaps in funding. Many do so not because they're required to, but because they believe in enhancing that educational experience to their students. Allowing educators to deduct up to $500 in classroom expenses would demonstrate that Missouri values teachers and recognizes the vital role that they play in the success in our future generations. While this deduction won't eliminate the need for broader investments in education, it is a meaningful step to show educators that they're valued. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you. Have any questions to the witness? Seeing none, thank you very much. Be sure to leave a witness form. Next up in favor, please come forward.
Forever. Take your time.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Autophagian, on behalf of Missouri NEA. We also want to speak strongly in favor of Senate Bill 12. Really appreciate in this time recognition that educators are really making a lot of efforts for our students, including all of the things they do in the classroom and spending their own resources to make sure that students have what they need in the classroom. And so we appreciate some recognition at the state level. This is entirely, it's very smart and consistent with what the feds do. And so we think it really makes sense to go ahead and move forward with this. Happy to answer any questions.
Do we have any questions to the witness? Seeing none, thank you for
Thank
your
you, Mr.
testimony. Next up in favor.
Hello, I'm Jay Schroeder, President of Missouri Fraternal Order of Police, and we are here to testify in support of this bill. I think it's a great step towards making Missouri a better state for policemen, for recruiting and retention, and I applaud the senator for this. Thank you.
Thanks, Jay.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions for the witness? Seeing none. Next up in favor.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, my name is Trent Ford. I'm a registered lobbyist for the Ambulance District Association of Missouri, here to testify in favor of this bill. Any initiative that helps with, and it's just like the last witness said, any initiatives we have for retention, recruiting, these are things we could need, and $500 goes a long way. That's all.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions for the witness?
Voice sounds good.
That's it.
Seeing none, next up in favor.
Yeah, right.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. My name is Scott Penman. My first time testifying this year, so getting the cobwebs broke off.
A little nervous.
I'm a little nervous today. I'm here representing the State 911 Service Board, Missouri APCO, Missouri NENA, and the Missouri 911 Directors Association. We're thrilled to have worked with Senator Hough in the past to have added 911 telecommunicators into the definition of first responders. You don't typically think of our folks being out there getting muddy and out in the streets, but like they are more and more commonly spending more time with more folks who are in obviously critical life-threatening situations, and the mental toll is significant. So we appreciate any progress to help recognize and support our first responders. We appreciate Senator Hough just to make sure we're not fishing for compliments for him, but he's done a lot for the 911 community, and we greatly appreciate it. Happy to answer all of your questions.
Thank you for your testimony. Do we have any questions for the witness?
I'm going to pat you on the back like everybody else.
Yeah.
Seeing none, next up in favor.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, Adam Rapert on behalf of Melville Fire Protection District. Just want to go on the record in support.
Thanks, Al.
Any questions for the witness? Seeing none, next up in favor.
Chair, members of the committee, Jessica Petrie-Telemock here on behalf of Cox Health. We also want to go on record in support, specifically the provision about better supporting our first responders, which are instrumental to our healthcare system. So we appreciate the senator's work on this.
Thanks, Jess.
Thank you. Any questions for the witness? Next up in favor. Seeing none, anyone that would like to testify in opposition? Anyone that would like to testify for informational purposes only? Senator, do you have any closing remarks?
No, I appreciate the time of the committee. Be happy to work with any of you on minor changes and things like that, but I think this is it's a good step in the right direction to help those folks out. Sure.
Thank you, Senator.
Appreciate the time.
This concludes the hearing for Senate Bill 12. We're going to take a moment and I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session. Do I have a second? We have a second. We are now in executive session. I move that Senate Bill 8 be brought up before the committee. Do I have a second? This is Senator Bernsketter's bill we heard last week. Senate Bill 8 modifies the duration of unemployment benefits based on the employment rate. I move that the committee vote do pass Senate Bill 8. Do I have a second? Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Secretary, please call the roll.
Senators Brown, 26.
Aye.
Gregory, 21. Gregory, 15, left his vote with the chair, and he's voting yes. Senator Lewis. Senator Schnelting also left, oh, I'm sorry. Yes, thank you. Senator Trent. And Senator Washington.
By a vote of 5-2, we voted do pass on Senate Bill 8. I now move that Senate Bill 67 be brought before the committee. Do I have a second? This is Senator Henderson's bill we heard last week. Senate Bill 67 modifies provisions relating to tax credits. I move that the committee vote do pass Senate Bill 67. Do I have a second? Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Secretary, please call the roll.
Senator Brown, 26.
Aye.
Senator Gregory, 21. Senator Gregory, 15, left his vote with the chair. He's voting yes. Senator Lewis?
Yes.
Senator Schnelting?
Yes.
Senator Trent? Senator Washington?
Yes.
By your vote of 5-2, you have voted to do pass Senate Bill 67.
Yeah, 7-0.
Oh, I apologize. By a vote of 7 to... My apologies, Senator. I had the wrong notes taken down. By a vote of 7-0, you vote to do pass Senate Bill 67.
I now move that Senate Bill 145 be brought before the committee. Do I have a second? This was Senator Coleman's bill we heard last week, Senate Bill 145, also known as the lemonade stand bill, which prevents municipalities from requiring businesses earning under $10,000 to obtain a business license. I move that the committee vote do pass Senate Bill 145. Do I have a second? Secretary, please call, or is there any discussion? Sorry. Senator Lewis, I saw your hand up first.
Just briefly wanted to just go on the record that I've had some conversations with the bill sponsor, and we haven't really gotten a solution to protect like Kansas City. I do appreciate the bill and the spirit of the bill. However, I can't fully support it today.
Senator Washington? All right. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Secretary, please call the roll.
Senator Brown.
Aye.
Senator Gregory, 21. Aye. Senator Gregory, 15, has left his vote with the chair, and he's voting yes. Senator Lewis?
No.
Senator Schnelting?
Yes.
Senator Trent?
Aye.
And Senator Washington?
No.
By your vote of 5-2, you have voted to do pass Senate Bill 45.
I now make a motion to move out of executive session and resume our regular hearing. Do I have a second? We are out of executive session. Next bill we will hear today is Senate Bill 35 by Senator Roberts. Begin whenever you're ready.
I'd like to thank the chair and members of the committee for affording me the opportunity to present Senate Bill 35, the Revitalizing Missouri Downtown and Main Streets Act. This bill is substantially the same as Senate Bill 792 from last year that passed this committee with a bipartisan vote of 5-1. Senators, I'm coming before you today with the opportunity for Missouri to be a national leader on the correction of two issues. One, hollowing out of our historic cultural main streets, and two, the imbalance of declining demand in commercial office space and the rising costs of housing. This legislation also intends to address the part of the greatest challenges we face to the business attraction in St. Louis and in many of our state's cities and towns. Stagnant population growth and a concern about being unable to attract talent. If we want to reverse those trends, we should look for the areas that Missouri differentiates itself. And one of those places is the rich histories of our cities and towns. It's no secret that in my district in downtown St. Louis is the forefront to the St. Louis Metro, and St. Louis is the door to the rest of Missouri. In working on this legislation, it became clear that St. Louis's dormant office space and demand for housing has little difference from the rest of Missouri, where our historic buildings are too costly to convert into housing. The Downtowns and Main Streets Act will provide a state tax credit to fill gaps in the marketplace that have resulted in spaces across our state's cities and towns lying dormant, thereby reducing the vibrancy in our historic cultural centers. By filling those gaps, this legislation unlocks private instrument that will otherwise sit on the sidelines and reinvigorates our cultural centers. I understand that there's a lot of support here today to discuss the impact of this legislation, and I could not have, not just in my district, but across the state as well.
Thank you, Senator. Any questions? Senator Washington?
Thank you for being here this morning, Senator. I'm trying to determine that this will only be for those qualified Missouri Main Street districts. Is that correct?
Correct. That are they're accredited through the Missouri Main Streets connection.
Do we have a list of where those are right now?
I do
'Cause
not.
I've been on the websites, and I don't find that on the website. And unfortunately, the statutes aren't extremely clear on who's actually identified. Could you get that information to us?
Gladly.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions? Senator Gregory?
Just a quick one. So is this only for the people that are purchasing the building and doing the work, or could this be someone, if there's a philanthropic person that wants to see a building revitalized, can he donate towards a fund to receive this also?
So it would be a credit, and that's capped at $50 million. So, you know, I guess any organization or group that is converting one of these spaces would be able to apply for it.
So let's say I win the Powerball, probably never going to happen, but I don't own one of the buildings, but I want to see it get restored. Would I be able to get a benefit on this also?
So you don't own the building, where
No,
would you?
I don't own the building.
They would have to actually own the
Okay,
building to apply
perfect.
for it. Yep.
Thank you. That doesn't affect me. I was just curious.
Okay.
Any further questions? Senator Washington?
I don't think I didn't get a full understanding from Senator Gregory's question, and that is, if I were to purchase a building, do I have to already own this by August 28th, or can I go buy it on August 29th and still qualify for this?
Yes, you could still qualify.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when he wins the lottery,
Yeah.
he's going to bring back downtown Blackburn, right? Okay, thank you.
Any further questions? Seeing none, first witness that would like to testify in favor, please come forward.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Elizabeth Lauber, registered lobbyist and legislative counsel. Excuse me. Can you hear me? From Missouri Main Street Connection. I'm going to be brief today because I have another gentleman from Missouri Main Street behind me. To your question, Senator, yes, we will have that information to you, and he will talk more about that. My purpose here and today is, first of all, to thank the bill sponsor for bringing this forward and to make just a couple points about the bill. The first point about the bill that I want to make is that this bill tells a story of bipartisanship. And it tells a story that I've been waiting for, and was really glad to see it brought forward last year, about how we need to bridge the urban-rural divide. This bill is a leadership bill. It says, well, we need to do something in our rural districts, and we need to do something in our urban districts. He's working across the aisle and across the body in the House with Representative Travis Wilson of St. Charles. And I think that's an important point when you look at this bill, that this is a Missouri issue. This is an issue we need to fix, and that there are Main Street issues in communities across. And again, I have someone behind me who's going to speak more specifically to how that's worked from a town planning perspective, how these things come together, and how Missouri Main Street Connection can help. So the only other point I want to make is when you look at this bill, tax credits, as you know, because you're the Economic Committee, are an instrument. they're neither good nor bad. It's how they're served. And I think that this bill, there's been a lot of work done on this bill. I understand there's going to be a few more tweaks, and we're happy to work with the committee as this moves forward. Lastly, I want to say that Gayla Roten is the head of Missouri Main Street Connection. She couldn't be here today. She was called to D.C., and so that's why I'm before you today, and also have a gentleman behind me from the organization. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions, which I'll probably pass along to him.
Thank you for your testimony. Do we have any questions for the witness? Senator Washington?
Thank you. Just one quick question. You just made me think about this. Will those who already receive like TIFs and other incentives be able to also take advantage of this? Is this another tool, or is this, or will we limit this to those who are not getting other advantages?
I haven't seen any. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, anyone could apply for it. It would still need to be vetted, and there is that cap in it. So there would nothing that would prevent them from applying for it, but that it's, not guaranteed that they would get it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Next up, who would like to testify in favor?
Hello, my name is Ben White, and I work for Missouri Main Street Connection, and we're the downtown organization, the statewide downtown organization. And so it is my role to work with communities all across the state of Missouri. In small towns, our smallest town is 600, all the way up to St. Joseph, Independence, some of the larger communities. And so it is my job to give trainings in these communities. And the first thing that these communities say when we come to them, when we ask what is bothering you, what can we help you with, is housing. Every single time. It is a statewide issue. It's a national issue. And so a bill like this can help these building owners in our small towns, mid-sized towns, and large towns to be able to provide housing on that second, third story of these buildings that they so desperately need. It helps to populate our communities, helps populate our downtown areas, and bring that vibrancy back that we are trying to provide as part of my role, and that I know that this committee and that we're trying to do in our districts across the state of Missouri. So with that, any questions?
Thank you for that testimony. Do we have any questions for the witness?
I did want to add, I will provide that list of communities to you as well. We actually work with over 55 communities, and it's growing, and it is all across the state of Missouri. So I will provide that to you. Yes.
Senator Washington?
Are these all like Main Street, just the one downtown, or like what I'm saying, is it just limited to like one area per municipality?
These Main Street districts are in the smaller communities. It is that traditional downtown districts. Now, for instance, St. Louis, though, we work with different districts like Dutchtown, Laclede's Landing, all of these different neighborhoods in St. Louis.
What
So
about in Kansas City?
we're actually potentially going to be working there soon. So that's actually in
So
our
it's work
strategic
on
plan.
18th and Vine?
Yes. So we are having conversations with Kansas City. So we hope
I'm
to.
giving you permission right now.
Oh, all
It's
right. Sold.
It was traditionally the African-American Main Street, 18th Street in the Vine area. And this would, we're already doing a lot of these things, but I think that would spur some additional development.
Yeah. I grew up in Independence, spent a lot of time in 18th and Vine. It's such a cool part of Kansas City. I love it.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Any further questions for the witness? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. Next up that would like to speak in favor, please come forward.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good morning to the members of the committee. My name is Kurt Weigel. I'm Chief Downtown Officer of Greater St. Louis, Inc. Greater St. Louis, Inc. is the unified voice of the civic-minded business community. We represent 15 county bi-state St. Louis Metro and bring together business and civic leaders to expand economic growth and improve the Metro's regional economy and overall global competitiveness. I want to thank Senator Roberts for bringing this bill forward and his leadership on this issue. Prior to joining Greater St. Louis, Inc., I spent my career in community revitalization and downtown development in markets of varying sizes, including smaller places like 27,000 people through Detroit and New Orleans, and obviously now St. Louis. As we all know, the economic landscape has drastically changed over the last few years. Hybrid and remote work environments have severely challenged small businesses, hurting downtowns and main streets throughout Missouri. Even with the recent trend of businesses moving employees back in person to work, the occupancy levels in business districts around Missouri, and in fact the country, cannot be expected to return to the levels of 2019 and before. The environment has changed. This is a problem because downtowns and main streets around the state serve as economic engines in many of our communities, rural and urban. The challenge these communities face when vacancy festers affects us all by constraining our tax base and diminishing our quality of life. Growing vacancy rates lead to fewer employees populating main streets and downtowns, causing a decrease in foot traffic that contributes to public safety challenges, the shuttering of small businesses, and limiting growth in small towns and big cities alike. What's more, other economic factors have made the redevelopment of vacant spaces less and less feasible. Construction costs, according to the National Association of Home Builders, rose over 35% between 2019 and 2022 alone, and have risen even more since then. Sustained inflation is affecting the prices of building materials. This, along with rising interest rates, has impacted the viability of development projects that could benefit our main streets and our downtowns. Yet, these investments are critical to reversing the downturn in economic activity in downtowns and main streets, and the need to revitalize them has never been greater. As we have seen in St. Louis, when major anchor buildings in urban areas sit vacant, they become a drag on everything around them, and reversing the trend becomes more difficult over time. Senate Bill 35 can build off the successes of the historic tax credit program in Missouri, a proven driver of job creation and economic growth. Communities will benefit from the growth in municipal tax base as a result of restored economic activity in Main Street corridors. Activating vacant, unproductive office space can also address challenges that these places are experiencing, like public safety issues, small business development, and the need for high-quality housing. This is a top priority for the St. Louis business community. The SDL 2030 Jobs Plan specifically calls for restoration of urban cores and Main Street corridors as key for economic growth, and this legislation will help support efforts to revitalize these areas. Greater St. Louis, Inc. fully supports the Downtown Main Streets Revitalization Act, Senate Bill 35, and asks the committee to pass it without delay. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for that testimony. Are there any questions for the witness? Seeing none, thank you for your time. Please be sure to leave a witness form. Next up, to testify in favor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I'm Steve Ellman, County Executive from St. Charles County, and Senator Snelting and I and all the people in St. Charles County are very proud of the growth that we've experienced over the last 50 years, and we grew 13% in the last census, but the St. Louis region grew hardly at all. And our prosperity is not going to last forever if we don't get the rest of the region growing. Eventually, everybody who wants to move to St. Charles will do that, and then we'll all be no growth. So I'm here testifying in favor of this bill. It's going to help the city of St. Louis a lot more than it will anybody in my county. But we need to get the entire region going. And even in St. Charles County, you drive through there and you see all the new subdivisions and new businesses and whatnot. But our four largest cities are all old cities. They were there. They started growing in the last 50 or 60 or 100 years. But at one point, they were small towns with downtowns that could use some of this assistance. So it will be beneficial to us. But most importantly, I think we just need to do what we can in the parts of the region and get the whole St. Louis region going. That's really all I have. I'd be glad to answer any questions. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions for the witness? Senator Washington?
Thank you. Thank you, County Exec, for being here. Could you kind of enlighten us? I love the downtown of St. Charles, but I love small town downtowns. That's why Senator Gregory's going to revitalize his birthplace for me. But you have been very unique in that you are now a metropolis, St. Charles, that has a basis in what was a small town. What what did you do to get that growth?
Well, you're
And I
talking about-
appreciate
if
that
you're
you
talking
kept the same buildings.
If you're talking about the city of St. Charles.
Yes, sir.
When I was a kid, there was people wanted to tear down that whole historic district. They want to tear it down and do a public housing project there. They just want to bulldoze the whole thing.
A
'Cause
public
it was-
housing
it was
project by the
worst-
water,
Pardon me?
sitting on the water.
Yeah, on
that's
South
not
Main
very
Street,
smart.
yeah. And luckily, there were some people said, no, we don't want to do that, and they created a historic district, and they worked. They got the first state capitol redone, which created additional activities down there. And yeah, we're very proud. I love history, and I'm in a historic courthouse that we've spent a lot of money bringing up to modern standards and restoring. It was built in 1903. St. Charles County's great. A lot of great communities. Every one of them has some small historic areas, but the city of St. Charles is by far has the most potential. And to get specific, ACF, it's American Car and Foundry, they used to make railroad cars and trolley cars. They have 3 empty buildings right along the river, right along the Katy Trail. I think they would be excellent places to put some loft apartments or something like that. The city's been trying to make that happen for a long time. This might be what it takes to get us over the hump on that. So I think I'm generally not in favor of subsidies, but in this case, for those areas that need them, I think it's a good bill.
Thank you. Thank you for your input.
Any further questions? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. Anyone else that would like to speak in favor, please come forward.
Honorable Chair and members of the committee, thank you so much for your time. Thank you, Senator Roberts. My name is Charles Goldman, managing partner of the Goldman Group and developer of the former AT&T headquarters in downtown St. Louis. I'm here to talk to you about a crisis that's happening in real time across the country. As my colleague Kurt pointed out, it's no secret that remote work is reshaping our cities, leaving offices neglected and deteriorating. We need to understand that these buildings actively harm our cities. They deter investment and invite crime. And nowhere is this crisis more visible than in downtown St. Louis. The city is defined by millions of square feet of vacant office buildings, boarded up storefronts, crime, quiet streets, and the list goes on. But it doesn't have to be this way. Picture a city that hums with energy, a place where people really want to live and invest and build their futures. Busy streets, thriving businesses, entrepreneurs, young professionals. Since the late 90s, downtown has seen the beginnings of growth. The population has increased 1,000% from under 1,000 people to 11,000. But if we want to keep this momentum going, we need to act now. Vacant buildings can't be allowed to erase the progress we've made. But that's not the only challenge. Downtown is also seasonal. Ballpark Village is the perfect example of this. One Cardinal Way, which was completed in 2020, was 60% pre-leased. And that was in the heart of COVID when people were leaving downtown cities. They were fully leased within 12 months, and they have 297 units. But I was shocked to learn from their property manager that more than half of their occupants live there less than half the year. They come for the Cardinals and then leave. So you may be wondering, how do we turn downtown into an all year round destination? Well, right in the heart of downtown St. Louis exists the largest building in Missouri, the former AT&T headquarters at 1.5 million square feet, which has sat vacant since 2017. Our goal is simple: bring people downtown and get people to stay. Our plan includes over 600 apartments, 80,000 square feet of retail, 100,000 square feet of amenities, dining, event space, a reimagined streetscape that brings life to the city's core, a fully automated parking garage, the largest of its kind in the world. The building will be unlike anything St. Louis has ever experienced. Imagine walking into a grand atrium lobby featuring a 30-foot floor-to-ceiling waterfall and watch as cars are transported in glass elevator shafts as you shop at the grocery or pharmacy. Some of the amenities will include an indoor pool, the only one of its kind in any apartment building in St. Louis, fitness, spa, and wellness center, cigar lounge, movie theater, and bowling alley, gaming courts, and more, a rooftop bar, restaurant, and pool with panoramic views of the city at nearly an elevation of 600 feet. At a cost of $350 million, this project is anticipated to create nearly 3,600 jobs and generate significant tax revenue to the state. What I'm getting at is that this isn't just another development. It's a statement of St. Louis's resurgence. It'll send a very bold message to people around the world that the city is not fading but rising. But projects like this need support, and ultimately the market dictates what gets built and what doesn't. And right now, downtown's market conditions are not strong enough to support the immense cost of redevelopment on its own. Even with historic tax credits, the financial gap is too wide. The way I see it, St. Louis and other cities across the state are at a crossroads. Either we let these buildings remain vacant and hold our cities back, or we infuse new life into these buildings and revitalize our cities. Thank you for your time, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for your testimony. Are there any questions for the witness? Seeing none, thank you very much. Please be sure to leave a witness form. Next up in favor.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, members of the committee. My name is Cade Tremaine. I'm here today on behalf of the Missouri Chamber of Commerce and Industry to testify in support of Senate Bill 35. As we know, there are so many main streets across Missouri that are able to offer, centers of community enrichment, essentially. But we also know that there are so many main streets across Missouri that are lacking in this and are housing buildings that are just simply being underutilized. So overall, the Missouri Chamber strongly supports this legislation, specifically because it will directly positively impact our economic development efforts, expanding more access to residential and retail space. So with that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions to the witness? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. Next up in favor.
Good morning, Chair, members of the committee. My name is Laura Holloway. I'm the Deputy Director with the Missouri Municipal League, and we represent 650 municipalities across the state. Just want to go on record in support of this bill. We really appreciate the opportunity, and our membership can use these tools. They very much support downtown revitalization, and we encourage the support of this bill.
Thank you for your testimony. Just real quick, who did you say that you were representing?
With the Missouri Municipal League.
Okay,
Sorry.
that's what you said. Are there any questions to the witness? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Next up in favor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Leonard Tenges. I'm president of Associated General Contractors of Missouri. As a statewide association, we represent over 500 construction companies that are both urban and rural, large and small, and we appreciate the focus on downtown and main streets. We certainly want to see development in every part of the state. AGC of Missouri is strongly in support of Senate Bill 35. We all have contractors who work all across the country. They work in other states. They see what's going on in other states. We see the competition that Missouri has with other states in bringing projects into Missouri. I think our contractors would much prefer to work in Missouri than chase work elsewhere, and Senate Bill
35 would certainly help us bring jobs and bring projects into Missouri in a much more effective way than we currently have the capacity to do. Thank you. We appreciate the time of the committee and strongly support Senate Bill 35. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for that testimony. Are there any questions for the witness? Thank you very much. Could you repeat your name one more time, sir?
My name is Leonard Tenges.
Thank you very much. Please be sure to leave a witness form.
Thank you.
Next up in favor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. My name is Tim Green. I am the registered lobbyist for an organization called the St. Louis Electrical Connection. It comprises of about 125 electrical and communication contractors in the eastern half of the state of Missouri, and the 4,000 members that those contractors employ that are members of the IBEW. We want to go on record in support of this legislation. Our contractors want to make sure these opportunities are there for our region as well as their employees.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions for the witness? Seeing none. Next up in favor. Can I just get a show of hands? Who still would like to testify in favor? Anyone testifying in opposition? Okay.
I'll be very brief, Mr. Chairman. Members of the committee, Fred Dreiling, representing the AGC Builders of Kansas City. We're the sister chapter to Mr. Tenges on the western half of the state, and we too would like to go on record in support of the bill.
Thank you very much. Any questions for the witness?
I did it online.
Next up in favor.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, David Kent, registered lobbyist for the Missouri Bankers Association. Also want to go on record in support. Won't repeat what the previous testimony was, but appreciate Senator Roberts for filing the bill.
Thank you. Any questions for the witness? Seeing none, next up in favor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Sam Panettiere on behalf of the city of Kansas City. I'd like to go on record in support, appreciate any efforts or incentives to help address the housing crisis and certainly the continued revitalization of the area that Senator Washington pointed out in Kansas City.
Thank you very much for that testimony. Any questions? Next up in favor.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, my name is Jay Hardenbrook. I'm the Advocacy Director for AARP here in the state of Missouri. Especially as we age, it becomes more and more important that you can live near the services that you want to receive, that you can live near retail, et cetera. We have been able to work with a lot of communities and Main Street communities too across the state to try to revitalize those downtowns. Making sure that we have housing really can improve the livability and improve the lives of people who can live there in these beautiful downtowns that all of these communities have spent so much time working on. So we definitely support the legislation and thank the senator for sponsoring.
Thank you very much. Any questions for the witness?
Thank you so much.
Next up in favor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Jim Farrell, representing Historic Revitalization for Missouri, the statewide association for historic redevelopments throughout Missouri. And we stand in support of this bill. We think this will be another tool that drives private investment into projects across the state. And that's, I think, what needs to be understood in the legislature, that this is not a cost to the state. This is an economic driver that brings private investments from all around the country into these projects, whether they're in St. Louis, Kansas City, or small communities across the state. Thank you, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions for the witness? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. Next up to testify in favor.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Randy Scher, representing MEDFA, the Missouri Economic Development Financing Association, statewide organization of cities, counties, economic development councils, developers, in support.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions for the witness?
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else that would like to testify in favor? Anyone that would like to testify in opposition? Anyone for informational purposes only? Senator, do you have any closing remarks?
No, just thank you all for your time, and to my witnesses, some who came all the way from New York to be here. So appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. This now concludes the hearing for Senate Bill 35. We have one final bill today. We will be hearing Senate Bill 102. Senator Cierpiot, please begin when you're ready.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I just got a note that I'm needed for quorum and rules, so I'll make this short. This bill will be much less time-consuming on your committee's part, but thank you for hearing it today. I'm Mike Cierpiot from the 8th Senate District. I'm here today presenting Senate Bill 102. Formerly, the law authorized an income tax deduction of 100% of a participating taxpayer's contributions to an account called the Long-Term Dignity Savings Account. This was put into effect so people could save and plan for their future as a senior without having to pay state income taxes on the money. In 2021, 239 Missourians participated in the program with a total deduction amount of $627,000. And in 2022, 277 people participated in the plan. The law sunset on December 31st, 2024, and with the problems the Senate had last year, was not able to be extended. This will extend it until December 31st, 2030. And if we implement the income tax elimination that we're talking about, at some point in the future, this plan would not, of course, provide any benefit. But for now, it does. The continued participation, as well as for allowing participation in the program. The intent of this is to, I had a constituent come to me and talk about they needed to, he thought it'd be a good idea to have people a way to save money for long-term care, like in nursing homes and things like that. And that's what the intent is. I'm still hoping at some point the federal government would do something like this. It would be the equivalent of an IRA for long-term care. And that's the intent. And so what I'm trying to do is just put it back into place. And if you find a bill that you'd like to amend it onto or something as a sub, that would be great too, because it's already been passed. We're just really putting the date back in play. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Senator. Do we have any questions? Senator Gregory.
Thanks. Senator, just walk me through it real quick. So it's just for long-term care?
Right. It's mainly, I mean, you can use it for other expenses related to that in the healthcare area for seniors, but that's what the intent is.
So
yes.
could I set up this account and start saving for
You
my
could.
long-term care?
You could.
And is it capped, or is there anything?
Yeah, it's capped at $4,000 for a single filing single. It's $8,000 for a couple filing joint. So if effectively they're saving $45 per thousand that they put into the account, because that's what the state, or $46, whatever the state income tax
Thanks
is.
so much.
Mhm.
Any further questions?
Thank you for
Seeing
hearing
none.
it.
Thank you, Senator. Anyone that would like to testify in favor of the bill, please come forward. Seeing none, anyone that would like to testify in opposition? Anyone that would like to testify for informational purposes only? Senator, any closing remarks? Thank you. This concludes the hearing for Senate Bill 102. With no further business coming before the committee, I now make a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second? We are adjourned.